This lecture is lecture number 14, part B. In last lecture, we learned about this jQuery HTML section. Today, in this lecture, we learn about this jQuery traversing. And in this section, we have 5 chapters. After completion of that, we learn about 3 chapters about jQuery AJAX. Okay, let's start from here. After enlarging, okay, jQuery traversing. With this jQuery traversing, we can move through the DOM tree, DOM, document object model, and we can find or we can select using that traversing. We can find or select HTML elements based on their relation to other elements. We can start from one selection of that element, and we can move through until we reach the elements we wanna get. This one is the HTML DOM tree, as we learned already in previous tutorial. With jQuery traversing, we can easily move up or move down, and also we can go sideways. That means siblings. The relationship is brother and sister relationship, and we can go to the next brother and sister. Depending upon that, the DOM tree we can traverse. This is called, this movement is called traversing. In other words, moving through the DOM tree. And here, this one is explaining that the traversing a little more in detail. Here, let's assume this element is the parent. And let's start from here. Then this UL is the child or descendant. Also, the other elements are descendants of this div element. And here, if we are looking at this UL element, then this is the parent of both li element. And this one is explained about that. And this one is the child of this div element. Think about the family tree, and it is clear and straightforward to understand. Also, let's look at this li, left li element. That is the parent of this span element, and also this one is the child of this UL element. Also, this one is the sibling of this li element, because they are brother and sister relationship. Also, this B element is the descendant or child of this li element. In that way, we can traverse if we know that the family tree relationship, and using some jQuery method we can traverse, and we are learning that jQuery method. Traversing the DOM, jQuery provides a variety of methods that allow us to traverse the DOM. And we learn. If you want to learn more about this, then you can refer to this reference. But we'll go to the next chapter. First, let's look at this jQuery traversing ancestors. We can traverse go up in terms of family tree. Then we can we can select ancestors. An ancestor is a parent or grandparent or great grandparent. Think about our family tree, and we can use these methods to traverse up the DOM tree. Parent and the parents, plural, that is ancestors, and we learn more in detail about this. And the parents until, those are the names of this jQuery method. And first, jQuery parent method, to this one we can use in this way. If we are selecting some element, and after that we can apply this parent method, then that means the parent of this span element. Let's look at this real example, then may be better for understanding. Okay, let's look at this HTML plain HTML element first. Here, many div, here div 1 and another div, and inside of that div area we are using UL element, li element, and the span element in the sequence. Also here, these p elements and the span elements are belonging to this div area, and here we are using this JavaScript using jQuery here, span, that is selected. There are span elements here and here, and this parent method will select the ancestors, and that is the ancestor of this span, but just direct parent. If we are using this parent without s, then that means that is direct parent. This li element is the direct parent of this hierarchically. Also, this p element is the direct parent of this span element. And if that element is selected into this parent method, then we can apply. That is chaining method, a CSS method, and we can provide the style property value pair. And if we have many property and the value pair, then we can use this JSON format, curly braces, and we can use this to include and the colon and the property value, and we can divide the other property value pairs into this comma, and we can enumerate in this way. Okay, if we are using just a single property value pair, then we can eliminate. For example, these curly braces like this. But if we are not changing this one, it is not working. Here, if we are using single value property and the value pair, then we should use this comma instead of colon. Then you can see this one and this one. That is running well. Okay, let's move to the next. If we are attaching s, then that means plural, and that means ancestor. This parent method returns all ancestor elements of the selected element. And this one, let's look at this one. This one is the think about that is myself, and these elements are my parents and my ancestors. If we are using these parents, that is selecting that ancestors, and those selected ancestors we can apply this property and the value pair thus the color will be changed to red, and the border pixel thickness to pixel solid red, like this. And okay, that's it. Okay, if we are trying to filter into some optional parameter here, then we can specifically select based on this parameter. Among that ancestors, among that parents, we can specifically select only a UL element among them, and then after that we can apply this CSS method that is changing that style into these property value pairs. And if we want to provide some limit instead of the full ancestors, we can limit it to this parents until method. Until if we are providing the parameter here, then just before that div element between current span, thus this element and this element, those are not included. Just we are selecting between them. There's li and ul, those are selected, and we can apply this CSS method, changing that style. Okay, let's move to the next. Okay, this one is about descendants in opposite direction. Think about the children instead of the ancestor parents. We can use these two methods related to this traversing descendants. First one, children. With this method we can see, let's assume we are selecting div element, then if we are applying this children method, then this direct child, those are this one and this one, those are children, direct children of current element that is selected here. After that selection, we can apply the CSS method to that selected element, like that. But sometimes we want to select all descendants instead of direct children, then we can use find later. And before that, let's look at this parameter. If we want to filter, or if we want to specify the parameter value here, even though that is optional, we can specify here. Then we can confine to this p dot first. That means p element with class name first, like this. Let's look at this part. There are two p pairs here, p elements. One is the class name is first. Second one is class name is second. Thus, if we are confining into this one, if we are filtering into this parameter, then p element with the class name first, that will be selected like that, and we can apply the CSS method. Okay, if we are using find method, as I mentioned briefly, then we can select descendants. For example, here, if we are combining or filtering into this span, then only the span elements among that the descendants will be selected, and after that we can apply this one. Let's try to remove this intentionally. Then this one is not finding anything. Okay, let's move to the next. With this find method, this one is returning descendant elements of the selected element all the way down to the last descendant. And to select all of them, then like the previous example, instead of the empty, then we cannot select. There's here we should provide this parameter. Asterisk means all elements. Usually asterisk means sometimes it is selecting all elements like this. div, and this one is selecting all descendants of this div element like this. Thus you are simply using this empty parenthesis, then we cannot select anything here. Siblings. To traverse these siblings means brother and sister. Think about yourself, your brother and sister. Those brother and sisters are your siblings. With jQuery, you can traverse sideways in the DOM tree to find the siblings of an element. Siblings share the same parents. Think about yourself and your siblings or your brother and sisters. So you are sharing in the same parent. You have same parent. Here we have some method related to this sibling traversal. Many useful jQuery methods for traversing sideways in the DOM tree. Siblings, next word, next until, previous word, previous until. Let's look at this one first. Siblings method. Here, instead of looking at that source, and we can use this one, then maybe better for understanding. Here, siblings, class name is like this. Class name, sibling, and here let's focus on this. This one is plain HTML elements, and we are focusing on this. Siblings, how to select which element. With this one we can select brothers and sisters. Let's assume yourself is this one, and the others are your brothers and sisters, because you have same parent div, and elder brother or elder sister, and younger brother or younger sister. Think about this one. You are here, then it may be easy to understand. Siblings, except you, your brother and sisters, those are selected, and we can apply the CSS method. Okay, after closing some open tabs, let's look at this one. This one, okay. This one is okay. Siblings, okay. We learned already. and let's move to next. And we can specify into this parameter value, then that p element will be specifically selected, and we can apply after that. Okay, next one is next method. Next method. This one is returning the next sibling element of the selected element. Let's think about this one. This one is the reference element. Yourself. Assume. Let's assume in that way. Then next one is this one. And the next word means or younger brother and sisters. We can select using this next word. Next until method, and if we want to provide some limitation, or if we want to confine, then after this until means just before that. Next until H6 means just before H6, thus H5, thus between them. Thus H2 between H2 and H6 between them. Those are not included, those are excluded. The three elements here, those are selected. After that we can apply this CSS method to change the style. Okay, other methods are here, but those are omitted in terms of the examples because that is conceptually same, but the direction that is in reverse way. In the for example, this one is previous sibling instead of next one. There's that will be the different. There's that is traversing backwards along sibling elements in the DOM tree. Okay, let's move to next. Filtering. Sometimes we want to filter, and we can selectively select this first, last, and the EQ. Those are being used, and all the filter and the not. Those are the methods related to that filtering. And the first one, let's look at this one. First method. As the name is meaning, that is self-explaining, we can select the first one. Among these two divs here, we can select first one, and we can apply. This one is the first div, and we can apply this CSS style. Last one, we can select among two divs. Last one will be selected among probably here three. 1, 2, 3. 3 divs. The last one will be selected, and then we can apply that CSS style using CSS method. jQuery EQ method. To this one, we can provide some index number, then we can select specifically matched to that index number. This index number is starting from 0. Thus 1 means second one among these p elements. Here we have 4 p elements here, and among them second one specifically we can select due to this EQ method, and we can apply the CSS style. And the filter method, to this one we can filter, we can select specifically that the element to this class name dot intro. That means class name intro. Among that p elements, class name intro, there are 2 p elements here, and those styles are changed to this yellow background. And this one is not very simple name, and this one is being used to exclude this intro. If that p element is containing that class name intro, then those are excluded because that name is not. Also, this one is self-explaining, and the others are selected. The others, this one, except this with class name intro, those are excluded, and the others are selected. And after that, we can apply this CSS style. Okay, let's move to next. Okay, that was the, let's look at this menu. That was the last chapter in this jQuery traversing. And let's look at briefly this jQuery AJAX. Even though there is another AJAX long tutorial, and you can refer to that later if you are interested in. And but in our lecture, we'll focus on the very simple introduction and introductory chapters here. Let's look at this one, and let's try to get just a simple idea about the AJAX. And this one is introduction of that AJAX. What is AJAX? AJAX is the art of exchanging data with the server. Those we are dealing with the server and updating parts of a web page. Those also we are dealing with the client side without reloading the whole page. jQuery AJAX example. For example, there are many other contents here and also here, but if we are trying to update only this part, then that is possible using AJAX. Let jQuery AJAX change this text. Okay, get external content. Then you can see that description is being changed to this. The others are exactly the same, and only this part that is being updated or changed. And how to implement that? Like this. Okay, let's try again. Let jQuery AJAX change this text. If I am clicking this one, you can see that only that is being changed. The others are still same and remaining. And that is the convenience of this AJAX to handle this web page. Instead of the changing whole document, whole web page, we can simply change that part, a portion of that. Okay. To use that, we can use this one as we did already, and let's focus on that. Here, this one is AJAX method load, and this is the new content file name, and that is updated here, and that is the main content file name here, and that content is downloaded here and updated, and only that part, and the others are staying at the same status, and that is not being changed at all. Okay, I'm clicking this one, then this div1, that is the ID name for that, and that is newly updated with the new contents. That is the content file, and that is stored in the server, and that will be brought, and that is being updated here. What is AJAX? AJAX means what that the full name is asynchronous JavaScript and XML. In short, AJAX is about loading data in the background and display it on the web page without reloading the whole page. And examples of application using AJAX, you can that you are very familiar to that probably. Gmail, Google Maps, YouTube, and Facebook. Those are using this AJAX technology. This method, they are using that. What about jQuery and AJAX? jQuery provides several methods for AJAX functionality. To the jQuery AJAX method, we can request text, HTML, XML, or JSON from a remote server using both HTTP GET and HTTP POST. And we can load the external data directly into the selected HTML elements of our web page. And jQuery is making it simplified, because there may be many different kinds of browsers. Even though they are different browsers, with this jQuery, the API is simplified, and this one is explaining about that. However, the jQuery team has taken care of this. This one is about the compatibility, and so that we can write the AJAX functionality into only one single line of code. And this one is example of that AJAX method. One is load here, as we used already, and select here and load. This is AJAX jQuery method. And here we should provide URL to bring from that server and some data here, and the callback function. If that is loading is completed and successful, then finally this callback function will be executed. This one is explained about that. Let's think about this one. And here is the content of our example file, and stored in the server. Let's assume this is the external file stored in the server, demo_test.txt, and that contents is like that: h2 and the p pairs, p pair here, and the h2 heading. That is the very simplified content to show some example of this AJAX application. And this following example loads the content of the file. This one, the content is this, into a specific div element in our app page. Like this, load, and the external file. The content is simple, but that will be loaded like this, where in this div area, div1, and load there. That is the contents, and we learned already, and that will be brought to here, as we observed already in other previous chapter. Okay, in this way. Also, some part of that contents, only this paragraph that can be partially selected, and that can be uploaded to my web page. Only that part. How? In this way. If we are specifying the file name, after that, if we are confining it to this ID name and class ID name P1 here, then only that paragraph will be brought to my web page, and that will be updated like this. Only that single line paragraph. And the callback function is optional. Thus, that optional callback parameter specifies a callback function to run. When the load method is completed, the callback function can have different parameters, and one of them is response text, another one is status text, and XHR. First one is containing the resulting content if the call succeeds. text, that is successful. Then second one, status text, that is containing the status of the call, and XHR, that means XML HTTP request object. This one is containing that. This example is using that, and let's look at here the main plain part of this HTML. Those are very simple. These two lines here, one is div area and another one is button here, and if we are clicking this one, then this one is getting external content as we did already, like this, and this one is showing external content loaded successfully, and after that this one will be replaced, updated like that. And let's look at this script part using jQuery AJAX method load here, and this one is using other parameters here, even the callback function here, and this one is containing 3 parameters. Those are explained in the previous contents, and with this one we can check whether that is successful or not, and the status error, then the error message will be shown. And in our case, as we observed already, external content loaded successfully. Okay, after closing these open tabs, let's move to the next. Okay, AJAX, jQuery AJAX reference. If you want to study more in detail about this jQuery, then you can refer to this jQuery AJAX reference later. You can study about that. But in our lecture and in our final exam, the discussed contents with the previous 2 chapters, those are asked. Next chapter, this one is using the Subscript. Even though that is related to the AJAX, this one is dealing with the Subscript in the server side. Thus, I am excluding this one, but I will briefly explain about this. This one is explaining about AJAX get and post method. Probably you might have heard about this get and post method when we are using POM tag and to send. There's can method and post method we can use to send. That means to HTTP get request or post request. HTTP request get versus post. Post, those are different. It is can method. This one is requesting data from a specified resource, and it is post method. We can submit data to be processed to a specified resource. And this get is basically used for retrieving, that means some data from the server. And post can also be used to get some data from the server. However, the post method never caches data and is often used to send the data along with the request. And the jQuery .get method, in this way we can use. This is the method name. And this is the syntax for that, URL and the callback function. In this way. This is the Subscript file name running in the server, and this one is using ASP. You may use other Subscript language, JSP or PHP. This example is using ASP. This one is dealing with the Subscript. Thus, I will not ask in the final exam about this. Here, if I am clicking this one is showing the output here. This is some text from an external ASP file, status success, and that is shown here. that alert statement is being shown there. And this one, that is running the server. This one is demo test.asp, and this one is sending some data. And let's move to the next. There's this get, the first parameter of this get method is the URL we wish to request. This one is the server side subscript, and the actual source code is this percent, this less than, and the percent means that is ASP code. This ASP means active server page, and that was developed by the Microsoft. And the response.write. This is some text from an external ASP file, like that. This one is response.write means server is sending this character string to the client, to my smartphone or to my personal computer, then I can see on my screen. Because this one is sent by the server, and this program is sending that in this way as a response from the server to my computer or to my smartphone. Similarly, we can use this .post method and URL, data, callback. Those are parameters in these parentheses. Okay, similarly, we can send the data, name Donald Duck, city Duckburg, and those data will be shown out like this. Data, dear Donald Duck, here, and hope you live well in Duxburg, this Duxburg. Those are shown into this alert statement. And now this one is using this one. This is server script, active server page, server script program running in the server. There's only the small portion or some subset of the whole web page that can be updated conveniently or efficiently. That is the main advantage of this AJAX. And you can refer to others, but that is just for reference. This one is also, as I mentioned already, this server script, active server script, ASP. This one is responding like that. Thus we could get the response. Here, something, here. When we are sending something to the server, then this server can get the name variable, and the city variable will contain. And this one is responding again. This one is response from the server to the client, server to my PC, server to my server from the server to my personal computer or my smartphone. That will be sent. This one request. With this one we can send to the server, and that will be assigned to this variable name in the server, and that city that will be assigned to this city, and we can send using the POM. This one is POM object, and this one is request object, and with this variable we can send to the server, and the server will get with this variable, and later when this one is responding, server is responding to my computer or to my personal to my smartphone, this one is sent back again. Thus we could get the result. Okay, I'll wrap up this lecture, and also I'll complete this 2020 spring semester, and in next week we will take the final exam as announced already.